It's the end of an era for Major League Baseball. After 35 years, which most of my lifetime, Major League Baseball will no longer be carried by the worldwide leader in woke, ESPN. Well, KC, that's great news. ESPN's coverage of sports is trash. Yeah, well, there's no doubt about that. When you're calling Malika Andrews an NBA analyst and her qualifications for the job were that she belonged to multiple marginalized groups, more than likely, your coverage of sports sucks. This is one of the main complaints that Rob Manfred had with ESPN. For years, ESPN has been scaling back their coverage of baseball. ESPN's coverage of baseball went from almost nothing to nothing. Outside of Sunday Night Baseball, it was like Major League Baseball did not exist. To be honest with you, that's not exactly a bad thing for baseball because it forced diehard fans to get their news, their analysis, from people who actually knew what the hell they were talking about. The problem is, ESPN has the largest platform. So with ESPN scaling back their coverage, it meant that fewer and fewer people were being exposed to baseball. Even though they had complaints, Rob Manfred, he was not the one that made this decision. ESPN and Major League Baseball, they were in the midst of a contract where the worldwide leader in woke was paying $550 million a year to broadcast meaningless games in the regular season. The only thing that made this deal somewhat worth it for ESPN was the All-Star game in the wild card round of the playoffs. I know there was a lot of excitement last fall. I know it seemed like Major League Baseball was having this resurgence. We are so back! Ratings for the playoffs were amazing! We are back to being America's pastime! Woohoo! Yes, yes, yes! While baseball definitely made a comeback during the playoffs, it does not change the fact that 90% of their season is absolutely meaningless, which is exactly why ESPN is getting out of the business of baseball. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. If you happen to stumble upon this video, be sure to check out my main channel, Behind the Line. Link to the main channel's in the description below. One of the main reasons that ESPN opted out of this contract, they felt like they were being ripped off. They felt like they were overpaying for a polished turd. Apple pays $85 million a year for baseball. Roku pays $10 million. According to Rob Manfred in baseball, this deal for ESPN is great. They are not overpaying. This deal is more than fair. We give ESPN exclusive access to nationally televised games. Who cares? Sunday Night Baseball could feature Yankees Red Sox, which is what Sunday Night Baseball mostly consists of, and they are still not drawing good numbers in June and July, August. And they're not drawing good numbers with no competition. It's rare that I signed with ESPN. Most of the decisions that ESPN makes are asinine. This is the same network that's about to pay Stephen A. Smith $25 million a year. They are paying him Sean Hannity money to draw Teen Mom ratings. But this is one of those rare cases where I agree with ESPN. It makes absolutely no sense to pay $550 million a year for 26 regular season games along with the Home Run Derby, All-Star Game, and wild card round of the playoffs. Would you be willing to pay over $500 million for Major League Baseball? Well, KC, ESPN overpays the NBA. They just agreed to pay the NBA billions. Yeah, ESPN is definitely overpaying the NBA. Matter of fact, it would not surprise me if ESPN is losing money on the NBA deal. TNT was damn sure losing money, which is the reason they wanted out of it. But there is a huge difference. Huge difference between the NBA and Major League Baseball. The NBA is the foundation of the network. Without the NBA, ESPN would cease to exist. The NBA carries ESPN 10 months out of the year, while baseball gives them a weekend in July and a week or so in late September, early October. To their credit, ESPN tried to work this out with Rob Manfred. They tried to renegotiate the deal, but Rob Manfred, he refused to accept less money. So now, Major League Baseball is without a home on television. They've got Saturdays on Fox. I think they still have a package during the week with TBS, but they don't have a mainstream sports network dedicated to giving them coverage. Now, of course, they really didn't have that the last few years with ESPN either. What was really surprising to me is what ESPN is replacing Major League Baseball with. If ESPN lost Monday Night Football, there is no replacement. If they lost the NBA, no replacement. When they lose Major League Baseball after this season, ESPN plans to replace it with Summer League in the NBA and the WNBA dump. Well, Casey, the WNBA can't replace Major League Baseball. If the games don't feature Caitlin Clark, the dump will draw a fraction of the audience. Yeah, but ESPN's also paying a fraction of the price. For starters, Summer League games draw well. Summer League is going to be huge this coming summer because the draft class is so stacked. But even if the WNBA was drawing 500,000, 400,000 viewers, ESPN's coming out ahead because they're paying $100 million for the game or for the season with the WNBA, which is $100 million too much for the WNBA, but you get the point. The question is, where does Major League Baseball go from here? Rob Manfred, he is pushing for streaming, which I think would be disastrous for baseball. Baseball has the oldest audience in sports. You know what older people don't like? Change. They don't want to grab the Roku remote to watch baseball. They want to twist the dial on the TV to Channel 5 and watch their local teams. Rob Manfred could offer more games to TBS, but that's not a real solution. I have seen some people suggest the CW. That would be a disaster. I didn't even know the CW still existed. Where does Major League Baseball go from here? ESPN has already found their replacement. ESPN has decided that unknown rookies and second-year players in the NBA and unknown dump divers in the WNBA are more beneficial to their network than Major League Baseball. So, what network can replace ESPN for Major League Baseball? You tell me. Also, do you agree with this decision from ESPN? Do you agree with them severing ties with Major League Baseball? Let me know. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys on the main channel.